We are over the moon to have Joe Pulizzi here with us today on Rebound This. Thanks so much for making time. The godfather of content marketing, the king of orange, and just an all-around great guy. Thanks for taking time away from the family to be with us today.
Oh, yeah, that's very nice introduction, Leslie. No, anything for you, you know that. And of course, bringing my orange here for those people watching, and always have to wear it. I really got rid of all my other outfits that
Really?
had no orange in it.
Oh,
So
right.
basically, I don't have a choice anymore. I go into the closet and it's orange. It just makes
A
it easy.
formula. Yeah,
Yeah.
decision fatigue, right? You got to take that
Exactly.
off the
Like
table.
Mark Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs.
Mhm.
I'm a big believer of that mentality. Focus your energy, your thinking on what's really, really important, and the other stuff that's not important, just don't waste any effort at all. So
And that may be one of the qualities that we identify today that helps people to take lemons and make lemonade in times of uncertainty like this. It's such
mhm.
cliche now, but this is craziness. Just like the Great Recession of 2018, like 9/11, like there have been lots of instances when it looked like we should pop a squat, wait it out, be safe, and that's not what you recommend.
Well, from if you're thinking about it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, or even from I'm a marketer at a small, mid-sized, large enterprise, I first of all, lots of horrible things going on right now in the world. I don't think we need to go into it or talk about it. But at the same time, there's never been more opportunity than there is right now for those people that want to go and grab it. I don't know if you watched The Last Dance, which was the 10 episodes of the Chicago Bulls era when they won their 6 championships, and it's mostly about Michael Jordan. But in the last episode, Coach Phil Jackson comes up to Michael Jordan and says, "Can you believe this? We won 6 times. Nobody's ever done this. 3 times and 3 times." And he said, "Yes, I absolutely expected us to do this." So sure of himself. And I think that's one of the qualities. If you're looking for a quality, you have to have, whether you want to call it arrogance or this pure blind belief that you can accomplish something. Because that's what I found is, I've been in business for over 20 years, been an entrepreneur for over 13 now. And I think where we were successful, especially going through the Great Recession. I mean, as you know, we started what became Content Marketing Institute on April 2nd, 2007, which was the day that New Century Financial declared bankruptcy, which is so funny. That was the start of the Great Recession. So everything that we did to build that business was during the worst economic time we've ever seen until now. And we're starting to see the same thing. So the first thing is you just have to absolutely believe it. And the second thing is you have to push away from the fear that, oh God, we've got to batten down the hatches, because everybody's doing that. Everybody it's natural as a human. You want to protect yourself. You want to go find shelter. But the ones that are going to really come out of this successfully in 2 to 3 years are the ones right now, like having this conversation that we're having, looking at, oh my God, there's so much opportunity. You've got businesses that are going out of business. You've got less competition in certain areas from a content marketing standpoint. You've got media companies going up for sale, bankruptcies, journalists that are out of work. I mean, terrible, terrible things. But at the same time, from a business perspective, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I mean, I've been sort of retired the last couple of years, but I'm almost thinking, wow, there's just so much opportunity. You just want to jump back in because there is that opportunity. So just to kind of wrap this up, first thing is you just have to believe that you can do it, because most people don't. They doubt that. And the second thing is, in all this bad stuff going on, you've got to remember that with pain, with an increasing amount of pain, you have on the other side the same amount of opportunity. So if you have little pain, you have little opportunity. Big pain, huge opportunity. And that's, I think, if once you realize that, you can move forward and saying, wow, we really can do something special here.
Great. I got it. Absolutely believe it. Push away from the fear and know that the pain and the opportunity are equally weighted. So go for it.
There you go.
I got it. Okay. So you often advise that you focus, that people focus, instead of going after every possible channel to achieve mediocrity across the board at best, that you choose one or two and be excellent. Is that a quality that you find often in the folks who can take lemons and make lemonade, make good out of bad circumstances?
Well, Leslie, you're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. You and I both know a lot of people that have started businesses. And the one thing that I've seen for a long, long time, I know a lot of really good folks with very good intentions that have side hustles. They're working a job and they got this thing over here they're working on the side. And they're always hoping that's going to be my thing someday. I know I'm working a job and I got the corporate thing going or whatever they're doing, whatever their safety net is. But I got this thing, I got this Etsy business, or I always wanted to start a fitness operation or whatever it is, right? They've got it as a side hustle. You know how many of those people have turned that side hustle into reality? None that I know of. Maybe you do. I don't know of any. Because you know why? Because they're not doing a great job at work because they're focused on the side hustle, and they're not going to turn that side hustle into a business because they still have to work. So if I go back to 2007, where I had a really good job making six figures as a executive in a media company, and I knew that if I wanted to start a business and live my lifelong dream of starting something, I had to completely stop what I was doing and start something fresh. So at the end of March in 2007, I quit my job, I left, and on April 2nd, 2007, started what became Content Marketing Institute. And I could forget everything I was doing and I completely focused on something new. Would I have loved to say, oh, for 6 months I was working on building an audience and I put the website together, and when I left in April, everything was done. I would love to say that, but that doesn't happen. That's fantasy land. That you have to focus on being great at one thing. And those, like we just talked about, Michael Jordan, he focused on being the greatest basketball player. Then he stopped that and he said, I'm going to stop that now. Forget about that for a while. I'm going to go be a baseball player. If the strike wouldn't have happened in 94 and 95 for Major League Baseball, he would have become a Major League Baseball player. There's no doubt. And anybody that saw Michael Jordan play, that he would have been a very good or great baseball player too, because he stopped basketball. Then when he stopped baseball, he went right back to basketball and focused. Never did two at the same time. Same thing in business, same thing in marketing, same thing when you're talking about, turning, lemons into lemonade or whatever you want to talk about. So that's where, if you're in marketing, you don't do everything. I know a lot of marketers, and you do too, where they're like, oh, let's do some social ads over here. We'll do a little bit of PR. We'll do a little bit. And I get that. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of everything. But from a building audience standpoint, you do not. If you look at the greatest media companies of all time, how did they start? New York Times started by doing one thing great, did a great newspaper. Huffington Post started by doing one thing great. They started with one blog. Now they've got hundreds, right? TED Talks. TED, a great media brand now, just started with their in-person events. Very small thing. Blew up to this huge media thing. Red Bull Media House. We want to look on the brand side. How did Red Bull Media House, maybe one of the greatest sports entertainment media companies around, maybe second to ESPN, if you will. You've got Red Bull. How did Red Bull Media House start? They started with a Formula One magazine and turned that into the Red Bulletin. That was their one thing. And then they diversified into all these things. So that's my thing. And, you don't start two businesses. You don't start two platforms. You don't be great at one. Build your audience in one. Be amazing, be helpful, whatever you want to say. And then once you do and you build your audience in that platform, then you can have the discussion about diversifying, but only then when you have that built.
Got it. Great. So let's say you're in-house right now and everybody's freaking out and they want to throw all the spaghetti at the wall that they can cook. What advice would you give them? How would you recommend they begin to position efforts so that if they're focused on building audience, that they can get the permissions they need to focus for excellence?
So what you bring up, I mean, it's a real life problem. And you and I know a lot of marketing VPs, marketing managers, where the request is, hey, we want to do all these things. We want the podcast, we want the event series, we want the webinar series, we want the mini magazine, we want the blog, whatever. They want all of it at the same time. So it's your job in marketing to set the correct expectations. So you have to create the roadmap for people that don't understand how audiences are built. So when we really started to get serious about building a media platform at Content Marketing Institute, so let's go to 2009. That's when I really realized, okay, how do we roll this out? How do we create the #1 media brand in content marketing? Well, I had a cocktail napkin at the time, and I'm writing down, and I'm like, okay, we have big goals, big vision, and we want to have the largest in-person event around content marketing in the world. Okay, that's what we want to do. We want to have the #1 industry-leading magazine. Okay, we want to do that. And we want to have the #1 online destination for marketers. Well, that's great and all, right? But I can't do all that at the same time. So I road mapped it out. So this was in September of 2009. And I said, okay, this is all the things we have to do. I think that we can do a rollout of the destination, the online destination, in May. So we worked on that. That went really, really well because I didn't think we could launch the magazine until a year after that. But we ended up launching the magazine 9 months after that because the online rollout went so well. Why? I mean, that it was a good time to be in content marketing. People were just coming out of the Great Recession. But the other thing is we were really focused on just that. Be great blog, focus on the e-newsletter, right? Blog post, call to action, e-newsletter. We didn't do anything fancy. That was it. Okay, that worked really well. We got hundreds of thousands of people going to that site. And then we said, boom, now we can diversify and launch the magazine because we built that audience online. So in January, then we said, okay, now we're going to do the rollout to do an every other month magazine. Boom, that worked great. Started going. And then 9 months after that, 10 months after that, then we did Content Marketing World, the event, first year. So that was the rollout plan. So that's the recommendation that I would make for any marketer is like, sure, you want it all, right? You want to be everywhere, but it doesn't work that way. You can't do it. I haven't seen it work successfully where you say, we're going to launch it all at the same time and see what works. It doesn't work that way.
And
you
you
just talked about all the reasons why. Yeah.
Yep.
So then educate your team and educate the executives in your organization about how building audiences work. Focus and build that up and say, okay, if everything goes well and we hit our markers here for audience building on the podcast, then we can launch whatever the second thing is, the event series or whatever, but make that rollout so that they know, hey, this person wants to do all these things, but is realistic about what resources we have and how it's done. Okay, I can live with that. So that's what a lot of marketers don't realize. Your #1 job is educating internal communications, is educating the people around you. And then that will give you the ammunition to communicate with your external audience.
I'm going to add that to the list of qualities. Internal educator. Right.
Well,
See that as the.
Yeah, I mean, Don Schultz, one of my mentors, father of integrated marketing communications, he always said, if you have a choice between marketing internally or externally, you always choose internally first, because employees are your best marketers. And if they don't know the mission and the vision, how do you expect your customers to know it? So that comes first, and then you can go ahead and have the privilege of communicating with your customers.
Really great. Got it. So if somebody's in-house and they're working their internal communications and they get the permission slip to focus and shoot for excellence, how do you decide where excellence is? Have you set some KPIs before measurements and you say, okay, at this point we get to add something else, but not until we get here? Or do you just go until you're like, we'll pick something as we move along?
Yeah, I wish it was a science. It's not. I mean, Brian Clark talked about getting to the point of minimum viable audience. it's the point at which you can actually start driving revenue through that channel. So that's where the hypothesis comes in. So you might say, let's say I want to build a blog with an email companion. And that's how we started Content Marketing Institute. So we're like, okay, that's our core platform. Coming from media, coming from business to business publishing, I knew that you could monetize an e-newsletter at 10,000 subscribers, active subscribers. So that's what we set as our minimum viability to move on to the next level. So that as we're doing the platform. So okay, launch May. We're going to launch this blog and go out and say we're not going to launch that magazine till we get to at least 10,000. Because I know at 10,000, I'm monetizing the blog and I'm monetizing the email newsletter. So I can say, oh, good, where things are working. So those are the types of levels that I would set in. Now, if you're on the consumer side, it's much different. You might say it's 50,000, it's 100,000. I don't know what your audience would be, but hopefully you have some idea, depending on what your niche is, what is a good number. That's a flexible number, but I would put it in there. And we always recommend when you lay out the concept for your team, that's in there. Our expectation, you do put the plan together. Here's who we're targeting. Here's the mission. We're going to do a podcast. We believe that the frequency of that podcast is every Tuesday and Thursday. We're going to send it out at 6 p.m. Eastern time every Tuesday and Thursday. We are going to have a guest format. It's going to be 45 minutes. We are going to distribute on iTunes and Spotify, and we're going to focus on those two channels. And we believe that if we get to 10,000 downloads by 6 months, then that will help us, whatever your call to action is. Hopefully you have a call to action that is an e-newsletter. I'm a big believer in e-newsletters because that's the one subscription outlet that we have some control over. So that's what I would look to. And through all those things, you might say, okay, that's 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 subscribers coming from the podcast. Then you can go to the next level. But to put that in there as the hypothesis and then see how it goes. I don't want to say we're guessing. Hopefully you're using a lot of tools to understand the behaviors of your audience, to understand the content opportunities and the areas that you can cut through all that clutter because you're focusing on a certain area to a certain audience, and then see how it goes and give yourself, I would like to say, give yourself 9 to 12 months to see how it goes. Now, hopefully I'd like to say, hey, you'll know it's 6 months. But it takes a long time to build a loyal audience. And from our research, generally from start to monetization, it takes about 12 months or more to see any fruit from all your practices. That's why people love advertising, because you go out and advertise, especially on social, right? Today, I can see the numbers. I can look at the dashboard and see it happening. Well, can't really do that with content marketing. But if you do it well, by the end of it, you've actually built an asset that you can monetize in 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 different ways, just like a media company does when it comes down to it. And that way, when you're in an enterprise, when you're in an in-house, you can create your own budget. I mean, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to create marketing as a profit center. And this way you can do it. You can sell your own products and services, and then you can monetize in multiple different ways. And that's the big, coming out of this economic crisis that we're in right now, Leslie, I think that's the thing that we're going to see in 2, 3, 4 years. We're going to see more Amazon examples, more Red Bull examples that are actually driving revenue from their audience creation and content creation. So it's going to be an devastatingly horrible time for a lot of companies. And then coming out of this, we're going to see some of the most innovative marketing examples we've ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So what I heard you say, I added a couple more qualities to the list.
Okay.
I've got plan your work and work your plan. Be scientific about it. Test trial, and I would probably add there, don't be afraid to not cut and run, but listen and respond. Fair. And
yes,
then
to get your listing posts in order. Yeah.
Yeah.
How to get as much feedback as you can.
Yes, and not be tied to, have it be okay if your baby's ugly. Right?
Well, it will be. Your baby will be ugly the first couple months. Uh, and you're going to go back to the content. You're going to say, oh, I can't believe we actually did that. It's okay.
Mm,
Everybody does that.
really great. And then to make sure you're planning based in research and data from multiple sources, right?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay. And what I heard you just say too was that there are things that will be possible that had coronavirus not happened wouldn't have been possible. Like this explosion you're predicting in 2 to 3 years of more Amazons, more Red Bulls, because people had this time compressed, um, almost Lee of the Stone, where they weren't able to sell or they were flooded. What do you, I get that you're making this prediction.
Yeah,
What is the source of
sure.
that? What are you seeing that you're saying that's going that way?
Sure. Well, we talked about the Anheuser-Busch example where the CMO comes out and says, you know, we're pulling way back on our advertising because we know right now we've got to focus on communicating directly with our audiences. And I'm like, oh, brilliant. I mean, I love that Anheuser-Busch is doing that. One of the greatest advertisers ever in our history is saying, you know what, advertising right now in this climate is not going to cut it. We've got to focus on direct communications. So the one thing that we're seeing right now that we know for sure is advertising budgets are getting cut across the board. Advertising is a different animal than content marketing. I'm not saying that content marketing doesn't cost money, because content marketing absolutely does cost money, but you can do things with communicating with your audiences today that don't cost what it costs to advertise directly in somebody else's medium. So we can get very creative with, you know, for example, let's just say that you wanted to launch a podcast. Theoretically, if you wanted to launch a podcast, it would probably cost you less than $100 a month to do that. If you really wanted to, you know, you're not paying for studio time here, but you're doing things like we're doing here. We've got professional mic setups. I mean, all the things that are possible today that anybody can be a great content creator, you can do those things. Email newsletter doesn't cost a lot of money to do that, right? What actually costs the most money, which I love doing, and maybe there's another opportunity that we wouldn't have a chance without this going on, is Facebook ads are a little bit cheaper. LinkedIn ads are a little bit cheaper than they were. So if you're creating a content platform and you want to promote that on those platforms, you are now getting an opportunity to do that at a level that you didn't have before. So what are you going to do during a time when people are going through this horrible pain points, dire straits? Are you going to advertise your product, or are you going to try to solve their pain points with really good information to help them make their lives better? It's a non-choice, right? You're absolutely going to focus on information. This is really why content marketing is, you know, I call this the third stage of content marketing. You had the first stage after 9/11. You had the second stage was the Great Recession. And this third one is going to be the most powerful, where we're going to start to see more and more companies be media companies, but we're not going to see them as media companies because they're going to have build these amazing audiences. Now, it's easy for people like Amazon. I mean, Amazon has been helped by this. They're just going to blow up with this. Apple. I mean, those big tech companies are probably the next big media companies that we're going to see, because they have the resources to do it. But that doesn't mean that any of you listening to this right now that are struggling on budget can't be competitive when you are looking at the next opportunity where you have media companies that are really struggling right now. So for the same reasons, you have advertising getting pulled back. So media in general is struggling outside of even the New York Times, which their subscriber rates are going through the roof, but their advertising has come down significantly. So thank goodness they have direct subscribers and email list. But let's be honest, in every market out there, the media companies that have survived this transformation over the past 20 years are really hurting right now. The event business, who knows when that's going to come back. So they're in real trouble. So what are they going to do? They're going to cut back. And we've seen it. They're going to let journalists go, their editors go. It's really sad to see what's going on right now. That means that there is a content gap that probably needs to be filled, that any company out there with focus and energy can probably do that and not spend a lot of money to become the leading expert in any particular niche. And they could probably do it by hiring some of that talent that's being let go from some of these wonderful organizations.
No, great. I just added focus and energy to the list of qualities.
I got a lot of focus, a lot of focus, a lot of focus, and a lot of energy.
No, that's great. I mean, I'm really interested in this question about how do we develop ourselves during this time to be well positioned for the rebound and beyond. And this is this is a great conversation. I appreciate all these bullet points. Anything
No
else
problem.
stand out for you that you'd like to say in the realm of that?
About what separates.
Yeah, and how people can train and develop themselves, because we're not all Joe Pulizzi,
Thank goodness.
right? If you had
Nobody wants to be Joe Pulizzi. Just ask my wife.
no, please, please,
Um,
awesome. So if you were in house at a brand and you got, yes, I got to get my roadmap, I got to market internally and make that be my primary to get
yeah.
everybody on the bus. And then how do I develop myself? Because that's a slog, 12 months. And to keep all that going, if you're inside of a bubble that doesn't think that way to begin with, and you're not going to be
Yeah.
able to prove it in a quarter.
So we can
So
talk
how do
about,
I sustain?
yeah. So we can talk about the things in the marketing environment that you need to do. So you've covered those, we've covered those. But if you're going to survive this thing, you need to do the things personally that most people don't do. So my recommendation is that you get your goals set up now. You start thinking about what's important to you, what's important to you from a career standpoint, a wealth standpoint, financial standpoint, spiritually, physically, family oriented, and you start listing 2 to 3 goals under each of those things. By the way, this takes time to do, so spend a week or two to write down those things. And let's just give you an example so people can visualize it. Let's say that you have a physical goal, and your goal is to you want to lose 10 pounds. All right. So you want to lose 10 pounds. Okay. When? You want to lose 10 pounds in 6 months. Okay. Measure. How am I going to do that? You're going to lose 10 pounds in 6 months by running at least 1 mile every day. Say, okay, can I do that? Well, maybe not. And not eating desserts except for Saturday, right? Or whatever it is. But that's how specific we want to be with our goal. That's how specific you should be with your financial goal. I want, by the time I'm, by the time I'm 60 years old, I want to have $1 million in this bank account. And I'm going to do that by doing this and this right now, putting, $50 a month in some account or whatever, right? Just be specific and measurable. So once you get those down, you're feeling pretty good about it. I would say no more than 3, no less than 2 in each one of those major categories. And then what I want you to do is I want you to get up in the morning and read those every morning. Just read them. Take it less than 5 minutes, way less than 1% of the day, right? 15%, I think, is 15 minutes, I think, is 1% of the day. So 15 minutes would be nice if you could review them a couple times, think about them. And then so get up in the morning and then before you go to bed. You do that every day. What you'll start to do is you'll not even think about your behaviors are going to change. You're going to do things because this is me. This is how I live my life. You start to do these things that will affect your job in a positive way. A lot of people don't realize that because they'll focus only on, okay, here's the goals I need to accomplish for this marketing strategy to work. I think that the personal and the business go hand in hand. Anyone who says differently, I think they're full of it. So you have to prepare for success in all areas of life. And if you do that, you can then allow yourself to be successful at work because you'll have that part of your goal set. So that's the thing that I would do. If you're asking, what's the thing that's going to set you different than everyone else out there? It's that nobody does this. And if you look at the Bill Gateses to the Warren Buffetts to the most successful people in the world, that's what they do. It's very simple. They write down their goals, they write down what they want to accomplish, and they review it on a consistent basis. It's it. It's not rocket science. It's actually just the same thing as your marketing strategy. Hopefully, you wrote it down on a piece of paper and you review it often with your team.
I
That's
got that.
how it works. You need to
Really
do
great.
that in your personal life as well as your business life.
Wonderful. Is there anything I haven't asked you you'd like me to?
Oh boy. Oh, I think the only thing that I would say, and this is building upon what we've already talked about, is I don't know what the budget is or what the monetary situation is for the people listening to this, but there's going to be a huge opportunity to purchase media properties, influencer properties, blogs, video sites, those types of things, probably starting in 6 months to 6 to 12 months. Those conversations and that thinking should start now. So I would make a list of the properties that you could possibly purchase that would make sense with what you're trying to do from your marketing perspective or your business perspective if you're an entrepreneur listening to this. And people just don't think about that. But if you're in media right now, that's all you're thinking about. Like if you were a publisher at a media company, executive, you've got the person at M&A all over it. Like, oh my God, there's going to be so many opportunities because people are going bankrupt. They're struggling for funds. Maybe they can't get credit lines, whatever it is. They're all over it. But we don't think about that on the marketing side. But you should, because it's a huge trend right now for non-media companies buying media brands. And I think that's only going to accelerate. So that's probably the only thing I wanted to add.
Great. Thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome.
You got it anytime.